Welcome your host, Caddy Frink, as she leads discussions about substance use disorder and the journey to recovery. You're listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution.
Gotta just have that little jam come in there just to kind of get the mood going. Loving that music. Thank you, Aaron, for picking that way back in the day. Hi, my name is Caddy Frink. I am your host to, what are we doing? Minnesota Recovery Connections, Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. Welcome here on AM 950. Across the table from me is...
Hi, my name is Cellie, and I am a woman in long-term recovery.
It's Cellie Dudley from Recovery Alliance Duluth. I'm so excited to have Cellie here again.
Guess who's back?
First and foremost, what I want to do is I want to say special thanks to our generous funders, including Patrick and Amy Butler Foundation, Otto Bremer Trust, the Sauer Family Foundation, the Hardenberg Foundation, alongside many other foundations and corporate individual donors. I am just going to always put out a plug and a plea for anybody who is interested and is listening to this show. If you have a couple extra bucks, or maybe you got a lot of extra bucks, right, Cellie?
Bring on the bucks.
Bring on the bucks. We are in a nonprofit kind of a strange world right now, and to keep this going, it all takes money because we got to pay Brett's salary as well as everybody else's because he's our man. But if you have the ability to donate to Minnesota Recovery Connection, we will be grateful, as well as if you are a person who's listening that wants to give back to the recovery community, volunteer at Minnesota Recovery Connection, because those are things that pay us back in the community as well. But enough of that. Miss Cellie, what's right with you today, love bug with your heart-shaped glasses?
All full of love. What's right with me today? I made it a mission when I got into recovery to be a lifelong learner, and I have done so much learning over the last, month now, and it feels really hard at times, but really great that I'm getting an opportunity to stretch and grow my brain, which helps me be a better person, sister, auntie, boss, all-around human.
Oh, I'm going to ask about that.
Yes. Miss Caddy, what is right with you?
What is right with me? Well, I'm across from you. Number one. That's the bestest.
Friend.
I know. It's so great. Because Cellie lives in Duluth, my land of my birthplace, yes. I get to see her not as frequently as I would like, but when I do, I get to cast my eyes upon her eyes. So what's right with me is I get to be around Cellie because her energy is something that I just sort of absorb and bring into my soul because of her wisdom, her recovery.
I guess.
Well, hey, you just said you learn a lot, so I'm going to roll with that. Yes. But what I'm grateful for is that I have work in a community. I just did some group interviews with some people who are going to be in my class next week, learning how to help people who are struggling with recovery. And every time I hear just little bits and pieces of people's why of they want to do this work, I become so incredibly grateful. Because when we are willing to help another human, regardless of where they are, what they are, how they've done, what they've not done, that's just what we are. We've had a very, very heavy period of time because of some terrible situations that have happened to some legislators. And it has really made me grateful to be grateful. Yeah. And we need to remember that we need to bring down the heat and bring down the discourse and have conversations with people, because we know that in peer recovery work, it's having a conversation, it's listening to people is the magic. Yeah,
even the uncomfortable conversations can produce a lot of magic.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you don't know, you don't know. But what did we say? Say it for us.
Oh my gosh, it's been so long since you don't know what you don't know until you know, and then you know.
Exactly. And I quote Miss Cellie every time I do the class, every time I make that statement. And I really see people's eyes light up like, oh, I don't always know what I don't know what I don't know. And that's okay. But how do I get to a point where I can learn how to be more informed? So give us a little hint on what is this edumacation thing, that this journey you've been on in the last while.
Through my job, I'm the program director at Recovery Alliance Duluth. We're a small RCO up in Duluth, Minnesota.
Recovery Community Organization, just for all those listeners.
Yes. We have had a lot of opportunities to do some training recently. And so we were able to come down to the Marco conference, and we filmed a show with Caddy then. And then we went to All Rise, which is a national treatment court conference in Orlando. And then we went to the Faces and Voices of Recovery conference, and now I am at the Minnesota State Treatment Court Conference, and I do a lot of work with justice-impacted individuals, and this conference just kind of pulls everybody who's on the treatment court teams together and talks about what are the best practices, what are the statistics showing about recovery capital, so what are the things that people need in order to sustain and continue to build and thrive in their long-term recovery.
So for those that are listening, many people know that somebody's gotten a DWI or they've had some sort of impact they've committed a crime in their substance use. Can you just describe what treatment court is to people? Because they might have family members or friends that have done this or are doing this, or maybe they have a reluctance to do it. Why is it beneficial? What is it?
Yeah, treatment court puts restorative into justice. So it's not about punishing somebody. It's about helping them find and figure out what their life can be like and find that recovery. So somebody has to be what we call high risk, high need. So they're a high risk of having another offense, and they're a high need of services. And so there's all different treatment courts across the state of Minnesota. There are currently treatment courts in 76 counties, which
amazing.
Blew my mind when they told us that yesterday.
That's a lot.
I was so excited to hear about that. And they were telling us about new courts that were opening up and coming. And so folks will come and be part of a treatment court. There's a variety of phases. And generally you're on for 18 months. Okay. And this is like instead of going to prison, or somebody's at that point in their journey.
They're kind of at this is like the last step. If you can do this and you succeed on this, you're going to see a different outcome is what the hope is.
And the beautiful part, they did an exercise yesterday where let's have all the judges stand up. Let's have all the prosecutors stand up. Let's have all the defense attorneys and caseworkers and probation officers and peers. And it was so beautiful to see all of these people coming from their own lenses and their own points of view. But really the end goal is helping people find recovery and live a thriving life. And I come at it from a peer perspective, so my heart's in it in a very different way than maybe a prosecutor is. But how amazing that all of these different people and all of their different roles are coming together to help people find and thrive in recovery.
Well, and kind of beat the odds.
Yeah.
Truly beat the odds, because many people fall back into comfortable, known behavior. Yeah. And if they're given an opportunity, if maybe it's kind of the last, we've kind of given you this chance, we've put you on parole, we've given you this, and then you come back and you're not doing what you should be doing. I hate saying that, but that's kind of what it is. We're gonna believe in you as long as you believe in you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the essence of the work that we do. We want to help the individual that struggles with their substance use disorder, their recovery, staying in recovery, and then having that justice impact. They all layer into one another.
So beautifully.
Yeah. And so to have people say, we want to give you this chance. Can you give yourself this chance?
Yeah. And we get to all support them in a different way. And it's just it's one of my favorite pieces of what I get to do at my job and get to train our team to do.
How many people at RAD are working within this
right now, 3 of us, but I'm in the process of probably pulling 2 more peers. But we sit on 6 of the 9 courts in the 6th Judicial District, and by the end of next year, we'll be on all of them.
And quickly tell me, how many people are you working with at that point?
So if we were to combine everybody on every treatment court in St. Louis County, there'd be roughly 200 people.
Wow, that's 200 people that are getting impacted by recovery and support, and a system that says we do want you to do better versus give you consequences, negative consequences, put you in jail or put you in prison or something. Oh boy. See, every time I talk to Cellie, I learn something, because I just learned a lot right there. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to continue on with Cellie Dudley and talk about her recovery. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution here at AM 950. We are here from Minnesota Recovery Connection. Thank you for listening. See you in a few. Hope you're moving in your chair just like we are here, moving in our chairs. Hi, welcome back to Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution here on AM 950. And I'm with whom?
Cellie.
From where?
Duluth.
What organization?
Just kidding. I know which one. Recovery Alliance Duluth.
So if you haven't picked up, Cellie and I have gained a friendship, gained a relationship over the years. We don't always get to see one another all the time. We don't always get to connect. But when we connect, it's just, she's got heart-shaped glasses on, y'all, right now. And I'm just loving the heart shape because the love is in the room.
Yes, always.
So while we were in the midst of a little break, Cellie was saying that the justice involved the drug courts that her organization and ours works on, but we work on it kind of in a different way, but not the drug court directly. So we do and we don't. But I think what I want to pull together, and that is so many people do struggle with their substance use disorder, and they get themselves into situations where they have to feed the disease, and they do things they probably on a clear head and a clear mind and a life trajectory that doesn't have substances involved wouldn't do these things. I wouldn't have driven drunk back in the day. Yeah. But I was lost in my substance use disorder. And so when we think about people that are convicted of crimes and they are revolving around substances, let's just take a breath and lean back and say, they probably didn't go, ooh, that's what I want to do for a year or two of my life, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
They just got caught up in a lifestyle. And all we're trying to do is help people by what Cellie said was listen to people, give them hope, give them opportunity. Tell the listening audience what you said just as we were sort of coming back from break about the different areas that you help the justice system know that help the people who need the help. If I can, that was confusing.
Treatment court has these things called best practice standards. And so it's all about what are the best practices in treatment court that impact the individuals that we serve. And this year, there's been a lot of pushing about the importance of having a peer on the team and importance of peer advocacy. And this morning, our opening session was by Vanessa, and she's part of the All Rise team, which is the national team who trains treatment courts. And she was just talking about recovery capital and how important it is for people to build those skills so that as they're leaving treatment court, it's not like they've spent 2 years with this beautiful support system and then it's like, bye, you graduated, see you never.
Kind of like what treatment looks like.
Yeah, and so we talked about building that recovery capital and that social capital of who are the people in your life that can support you outside of who's at this table right now. And so it was really powerful to hear people are recognizing the importance of peers and the work that we do.
That's so amazing, so amazing. Well, and that, we're going to twist the conversation a little bit because I want Cellie to speak from Cellie's voice about her recovery journey. When Cellie was here previously with McCoy, we were really talking about a lot of different things, and that was a great conversation, but Cellie didn't get to have a whole lot of her voice, which is a lovely voice. As an African-American female, somewhere in her 30s, I believe, give us a little snapshot of your story, but I think the thing that I'm looking to is meeting Cellie where Cellie is at and remembering that everybody who's on a recovery journey needs to be met where they're at, not where we think they should be or what we think they should do. So I give the floor to you. Tell a bit of your story.
That's dangerous. Give me the floor and a mic.
Oh, yes.
So we'll fast forward through like the story piece. Like I got into recovery. I had some incarceration in my background. I'm a justice-impacted individual. I ended back up in Minnesota from Texas, and I began this recovery journey of trying to figure out what was recovery. And for me, it really started with just sobriety, and I was just going to not use my substance of choice anymore.
Which was what? Because
for me, it was alcohol and pills.
Okay.
And so I went down a real messy path of that, and I just was like, okay, some incidents happened, and I finally hit a place where I was like, I'm not going to drink and I'm not going to use pills anymore. And for me, I thought, okay, that's going to be the rest of my life. That's it. I'm not going to have anything more. I'm not going to drink, and I'm not going to use pills. And that's all that it's going to happen.
Let's just abstain from everything, right?
Yeah. And I got really plugged into a church that I was attending at the time, and faith and religion became my pathway of recovery. And that was all for me. And I just could not ever imagine that there could be another path. And I threw myself full bore. I became an ordained pastor and really just stayed with that. But there was something so missing in my world.
Isn't that interesting? You think you've found the absolute. This is what it's going to be. And I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to say, and that is the important part of people who are on a recovery journey or a sobriety journey or a clean journey, and that is it is going to change as they find new spaces and places in their brains.
Yep.
So please continue.
Yeah. So I'm so grateful for the path that brought me in, and I am grateful for who it made me, and I'm so grateful for all of the other paths that followed. Because if I hadn't had the path that brought me in, I wouldn't be sitting here today, because I couldn't ever imagine a different path. And so I don't know how I would have found recovery without that piece. Fast forward, we shared last time a little bit about how Caddy and I met was through, I got voluntold to, that's a word. It's called volunteer plus told.
Yes.
And I was not really volunteered so much as told. And I began this beautiful teaching journey that I love more than anything. And I started to realize I didn't want sobriety. I wanted recovery. And because I was sober, but I still wasn't an amazing human. I was not very kind.
I can't really imagine that.
People who knew me then would. I was not very kind. I hadn't developed more coping skills yet, so I was still using coping skills that I used in my active use to get me through where I was.
What did that look like?
I did a lot of lying and twisting situations to make myself look like a victim, a lot of blaming other people for things that I needed to be accountable for. But I was stone cold sober.
Yeah, but that was the truth.
That's how I knew to get what I wanted. I just recently wrote a paper about it for school.
Wow. Yeah, it's those behaviors that we have from that previous life that will carry through, even though you're not using drugs, you're not using pills, you're not using booze, you're not using that. We've lived in that space for a long time, and that was how we survived. And so those things, as you said, you all of a sudden had some maturity come in. Wait a minute, that's not working very well anymore.
That's not who I want to be. That's not a reflection of the growth that's happened. Yeah. I tell my team all the time, we don't use the word manipulative or manipulation. People are resourceful.
Oh, for sure.
People are doing what they have to do to get what they think they need. And whether that is what they need or not isn't up to us to decide. So fast forward, and I began to find recovery, and I started to realize I didn't know a lot of people who looked like me in recovery. Duluth is a small community that has some diversity in it, but there's pockets, is what I call. And there's pockets of diversity within different populations. So I feel like for me, I went to an elementary school and middle school where my siblings and I were the only people of color in the school.
Wow.
And that was I just assumed teachers were all white. Yeah. And the majority of them were males. And so I was like, this is just what it is.
Wow.
And so when I got into recovery, I didn't really know anybody who was from the African American community who was in recovery too. Well, little did I know, there was a whole little pocket of community, but they were their own community, and I had to go and find them. But when you grow up the minority in a town, you don't always know those little pockets because they're not necessarily broadcasted, because there is a safety piece in being in your own bubble and community.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I started to kind of dig and look for, and I was like, well, I don't really see anybody doing what I want recovery to look like. So I was like, I need to be that, because I know that there is somebody out there who's finding their recovery journey who needs to see, hey, somebody who looks like me is thriving. Somebody who looks like me maybe struggled with these things and is now living this beautiful life. And so there were so many times where I just wanted to be like, I'm just going to shrink back into my little shell and not say anything anymore. But then I realized like my voice needed to be out there so that little me, early in recovery me, had somebody to look up to.
Oh, Cellie, my heart just exploded even more for you. I mean, that's just beautiful because it's so easy to shrink in and just not be who you want to be because you're safe. You're safe in that little space, that little bubble. Like if I go out, then I might entertain risk again or something. Yeah. Oh, please.
Or somebody's going to judge me, or they're not going to understand who I am.
Judgment. Yikes.
And so I was on Caddy's class a couple of weeks ago, and I shared that I was 36, 37 when I met my first African-American doctor. And I think for me, it really brought forward the conversation of representation. Like people in the recovery world need to see you. I'm talking to you, people who are in recovery, curious about recovery, thriving in recovery. Live your recovery authentically and out loud because you never know who's thinking about getting into recovery, who thinks there's nobody who looks like me or is like me or believes like me who is in recovery. And it's very lonely when you think and feel that, when you think and feel, I don't fit here, I don't belong here. And so I would encourage you, like you get to be a piece of that for somebody else's story. And I think so often in the beginning of my recovery was very selfish and for me and all about what I needed in the moment. And I think there's an element of that needs to carry forward for sure, because you got to take care of yourself and do what you need to do to feed your brain and your body and your soul and all of that good stuff. But as I've grown in my recovery, and I'm going to be 12 years in recovery in about a month.
Whoop, whoop.
I know, so excited. Never thought I'd be alive to even say that. My recovery now is for the people who are coming up and the people who maybe haven't found it yet. And I want to leave a legacy of recovery of people like, hey, I found recovery because so-and-so met so-and-so who met so-and-so who was part of so-and-so who maybe knew me someday. Because I want people to know, like, recovery is so real and possible, and it can look like whatever the journey needs to look like for you. The path that brought me in isn't the path that I practice now, but it was the foundation for me. So try a lot of paths of recovery. There's no wrong path, except going around and telling people that their path is bad or wrong or not like yours. Like, don't be wasting your breath doing that. No. That's a lot of
because that could do some something. Yeah, sure.
The words.
Good. Yeah, the words.
They're somewhere up
They're
there.
out there. It could do some bad damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could do some bad damage. Wow. That's so interesting that when you said that, I'm an African-American female and I'm 36 and I'm just encountered, because that affected me. I mean, we talked about that, and I just think it's like we don't have to think that if you look like somebody, that's the only person you can get help from. That's not it.
Not it at all.
Sometimes that's really the entryway. And then somebody, I would imagine, if you had somebody that you felt comfortable with, you could help them open up the door to other people that might look different from you.
Absolutely.
And the fear is taken away. Well, I've always been treated like this by those people. And it's like, okay, well, here, let me walk you through how those people might be thinking, and maybe you can help advocate for yourself, or I can come in and advocate for you. And that's what we do in Peer Recovery Services, is that we help advocate for people who might not know what the next steps are.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to recognize that sometimes people need people who identify like them to walk with them. There's strength in that because culture is so dynamic, and I might have needed a female. I might have needed a woman who was in this age bracket. I might have needed somebody who believed that tacos needed to happen every Tuesday. Like it doesn't matter what people define culture as, but there's a beauty and a strength that comes when somebody shares a piece of your culture.
Absolutely.
There's a depth there that doesn't have to be spoken, but there is such value to.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of our job as peers in this field, help people connect to their culture, because I believe when people can connect to whatever culture means to them, it heals a piece of them.
Well, it's so interesting when you say that, because there's a couple women that work at Minnesota Recovery Connection who are a little bit closer to my age. And every now and then we just like pass one another in the hallway and we share something, and it's like we're on the same page because my age is a culture.
Absolutely.
Where I've walked and talked and listened is a cultural space. So we don't just need to look at the outside of what somebody is. We need to look at all of the internal components and age and whatever your gender identity is. And but I mean, her name is Wendy Hack. I've had her on the show, and we're just kind of on the same page. There's another woman named Lorraine. She and I are we're literally the same age, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get you. Yeah, I get you too. And you know what's so interesting is that all three of us dress very similarly in a way that we have dressed in the past, which is I don't wear jeans, and I never have really, and I don't wear sweatshirts, and I don't wear t-shirts, and it's not because there's anything wrong with them. It's just not how I presented myself for so many years. Right. It's not how I identify. No, at home, let's be real. It's it's schlocky. But that's home. But it's even something as I admire the women who look, I don't know, it's just so weird because the three of us, we all just look a certain way and we're like, yeah, we got this. This is just who we are. And there actually is four of us, Kim too. So anyway, but your culture is so individual as to how you identify. And so give yourself grace and like you did, ask somebody who might not be who you identify with, say, hey, do you know anybody? You know, and I think about one of the components you talked about is we've got the substance use disorder and we've got medical services, but there's that psychological help that needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
Mental health and substance use disorder are intertwined. You should have seen we both did exactly the same thing at the same time. We just intertwined our fingers because they are so, and you don't know whether which ones cause the other one caused the something, but that's another component. So if somebody has a real hard time thinking about, say, do you have any mental health or any issues that you've been depressed or anxiety or this or that? I'm fine. I don't need anything. It's like, hey, I'm not suggesting you have a problem. Right. Just want you to know that could be something that is part of this whole substance use disorder thing that we're experiencing. So, so interesting. So, you also said that you're in college too, right? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that, because this is another journey that we get to explore when we find our recovery, right?
Yeah. So I, right out of high school, I went to college, and, substance use really just kicked in hardcore then, and I ended up getting expelled from college, and
Whoopsies, as one would say.
Sorry. I know I've said it a million times, but I'm sorry if you happen to be listening for all the chaos I caused back then.
The chaos.
Yeah. I thought it was over for me. I was like, I'm never going to learn again. I'm never going to be able to get to go to school. And I have a couple of women that just speak a lot of encouragement and life into my life. And they're like, go back to school. You can do it. And I was like, no, I can't do it. They're like, no, but you can do it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try. And I'm in my third semester now.
Wow.
And I went back really for me. I think in the past, like when I had originally gone, I was going to be a third grade teacher. I've had that plan since the beginning of my life, I feel like. And now I went back because I want to be able to speak on a higher level about substance use. And so I'm going back to school for a degree in community psychology and public health promotion, because substance use is a public health crisis. And I want to be able to speak about it from a perspective with some education behind it. I have the lived experience piece. I got that down pat.
We got that.
I got that. I get an A++ in the lived experience. But I want to have the other piece too, because I'd like to be able to impact change on a policy level, impact change on a state level, impact change on a larger community level. Because it's so important that there's voices with lived experience there. We got to present to the county commissioners last year when they declared a national recovery, a city recovery day.
Oh, beautiful.
And we got to speak, and I said, one day somebody on my team is going to be sitting up there as county commissioner. And they're like, yeah, actually, yeah. And I was like, you're right. Yeah. What am I thinking? Like, I was half joking, but really, we belong in all of the same places. We can be doctors, we can be lawyers, we can be teachers, we can be county commissioners. And so my encouragement to you is to keep going. It's okay if you've gotten kicked out of school or you've started school 10 times and you haven't made it. You'll make it. Yeah. Just keep going.
Yep. And the fear that is instilled in us for all of the behavior that we did in the past really can be a huge overcomer. Yeah. And I myself, I've never been to college, and there's an element of wanting to do it, but I'm at 62, I'm terrified. I don't even know where to begin. So here I am preaching to everybody, go do you. And it's like, could I do that? I never even started.
Yes, you could.
And it's just
if you want to. If you don't, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, and it's just like one of those things that's haunted me since I was, literally since I was 18. I never had the opportunity. I didn't know at the time that I could have gone to college, but I let my dyslexia literally rule my life for such a long time until I got into sobriety. And so this is where it can all kind of come together. I came into sobriety back in the day, and I became the trusted servant for my AA group. And that was the first time ever I had ever read out loud a script. And let me tell you, I took that bad boy home. I practiced it for a week before the next Wednesday, I think it was, we did our meetings. And I read it out loud, and I bungled it up a couple of times, but then I did it for literally another year. And let me tell you, this recovery thing is not just about not using chemicals. It's about becoming who you didn't know you were. Yeah. And I almost said a really bad word there. Who would have thought that I now teach a class in front of people, right?
Yeah.
Right? And read on a regular basis, flub it up on a regular basis, but I'm not now ashamed of that. I call it out and I say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm still going to do it. By Friday at the end of a class, I can't even read my own name, so somebody else is going to read it. But it's like those things, they lie deep within our soul, and they can literally hold us back. And then we can make these little steps. And that was like in my third or fourth year of being part of the AA program. And then, I stepped away from that a few years ago. And now I'm on a journey of recovery. And that's what we talk about. This thing is not just going to treatment, getting out, and all is well with the world. It is lifelong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we hear people that, say, I'm just going to stop and I'll be fine. It's like, oh, that's great, but there's still some work that needs to be done.
And there's so much more.
And there's so much more than just not drinking or using drugs. And I think that's the voice that you come from. It's all the voices that I try to bring in here. I need to do a better job of bringing in some normies who are trying to understand the people that have struggled with, had a little bit of a discourse, I will say, with my partner about me having assumptions about him understanding what it's like to be a person with addiction. And he's like, you assume I know a lot, but I don't. And I'm like, point taken. I'll step it back. You're right. I think because you've known me for 20 years, you understand exactly who I am, but how could you? Right. So for all the people who are listening and you're trying to understand your person that you love or you care for, your spouse, your child, your whomever, we are complicated beings, just like you are, but we got that added little extra zing of addiction, and it changes how we act and react,
process everything.
I mean, it is an interrupter, but it doesn't mean that we have to stay that way. We can get back. I mean, look at Cellie as an example of doing all these amazing things. We could talk for hours, but we don't have hours. So your goal is to be part of the bigger community, to speak, to have your voice in front of other people so that they can understand our voice. Would that be?
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece. And I think it's to show this I know you can't see me if you're listening, but this is what recovery looks like.
Absolutely.
It doesn't necessarily look like what it does in the movies. Sometimes it does, sure. But it also looks like the people that you bump into at the grocery store or your favorite coffee shop or the person who's your waitress at the restaurant, or it could be the person who checks you in at your doctor's appointment. It's just so important to remember recovery is so diverse, and I want to be able to speak to people who maybe haven't had maybe a positive experience with folks in recovery and help them understand the why behind it and help understand and educate and shift things of how our city and county and state and country view recovery.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Such an incredible mission. We're going to take our last break. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution, here with Cellie Dudley from Recovery Alliance Duluth. I'm Caddy Frink, your host. Catch you in a minute.
This guitar needs 6 strings, 'cause without it...
Again, Aaron, my co-host, back from the beginning of this incredible show. Thank you for the choices on the music. Without them, I just wouldn't be dancing in my chair. So, Aaron Fitzgerald, thank you very much. We are back with Redefining Recovery, Recovery Revolution. I'm here with Cellie Dudley from Recovery Alliance Duluth, a recovery community organization in Duluth. Say hi to the folks again.
Hey, hey.
Hey, hey. Look at her. She's so cute. So we are embarking on the summer months, which has a lot of things going on in Minnesota because...
All the things.
All the things, because we huddle in and then now we got to bust out. So Cellie has been... She is a community gatherer like nobody I've ever seen. And so why don't you let folks know just maybe some of the things that are going on up in Duluth, because I think the important part is that people who are living in maybe Minneapolis or southern Minnesota or northern Minnesota, they're going to go to Duluth. And guess what? They still all in those other places are working on their recovery. Maybe what's something that's happening in Duluth when people like, I just don't want to go out to the restaurant because there's a big bar next to it. What could they do?
Yeah, so we host anywhere from 2 to 5, 100% free, always family friendly, everybody welcome. Whether you're in recovery, curious about recovery, or love somebody in recovery, come hang out at our events. We do everything from mini golfing to a night at the movies to we're going to host a water balloon fight this summer. I know.
Seriously.
It's going to be so awesome. But September is like our month to shine, just like it is for Minnesota Recovery Connection and many RCOs across the state. We are hosting our annual Walk for Recovery on September 20th. And all of the info is on our Facebook page, which is Recovery Alliance Duluth. But our theme this year is Born to Thrive.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. Our admin assistant, Jess, and I designed new shirts for this year.
Nice.
I'm so excited. We're hosting an epic tie-dye event, 2 actually. One in the north of St. Louis County and one in southern St. Louis County. And we are hosting 2 big walks. Like I said, one is September 20th at Lincoln Park from 12 to 3, and the other is September 18th in Alcott Park in Virginia, Minnesota, for our folks who are way up north.
Way up. Gotta get those up north.
Pull
folks.
everybody in, and that's going to be a blast. That'll be from 5 to 7.
Wow, that's amazing. So you're going to tie-dye all the T-shirts to then put, tell me, what's the tie-dye thing?
We always do a big tie-dye event with our shirts because this year they're white again. And so we love to just spread a little fun and a little color. So we host 2 tie-dye events so that people can tie-dye their shirts and wear them to the walks.
Nice.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
we're in the process of designing our Walk for Recovery because we do our Walk for Recovery in September as well. It's September 13th. If you all want to know, from 10 to 3 at the state capitol. Food trucks, entertainment, about 100 vendors generally. If you want to donate any money to the Walk for Recovery, we are glad to take that as well. But anyway, so, I mean, Cellie has always been a very big community person from the early days in her recovery, working for faithful organizations, as well as bringing that all that experience in to the recovery community. And so I just want everybody to know that sometimes people who are living a life in sobriety or recovery or clean, whatever their journey might look like, they need spaces and places to go to where they can feel like, I can take a breath here. I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. And so for the events that Recovery Alliance Duluth puts on, and having these recovery community organizations around the state of Minnesota, which are all available, you could just go to any of the websites of Minnesota Recovery Connection or RAD. But just remember, the people who are on their journey in recovery, we need to have that space where we can be who we are.
Absolutely.
With our
peeps.
With our peeps, with our kind, because we can understand. And that's why, both Cellie and I are just absolutely, we're devoted to this peer recovery services work, because when we can talk to somebody, when somebody has somebody to talk to that gets it, it just brings down the angst a little bit.
Absolutely.
I was doing a group interview with some people, and I was talking to them about, sometimes the people around us who love us the very most just tell us what to do. And that doesn't always work.
No.
But if you listen to them and maybe find out what's going on and maybe why they might be in the activity that they are, it is just, you might learn something. And might learn something about yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So you are, your family is from Duluth all the time, right?
For the most part,
For the most part. Okay, I was just kind of curious about that. I was looking, I'm like, how did you land in Duluth? But that's where your peeps are from. That was where Grandma was from, right? Okay.
Well, that's where she ended up as an adult.
As an adult, okay. Because one of the things that Cellie and I share, and this is sort of a personal moment between she and I, but a lot of people out there have lost significant people. And Cellie lost her dear, sweet grandmother relatively recently. I lost mine a little time ago. But these are the people, and I think I can speak somewhat for you, and please say if I'm not, that loved us unconditionally.
I was on probation in Dallas, Texas, and I wasn't talking to my family. And my probation officer would give me letters from my grandma that had Ruthie comics cut out in them, and little letters just saying how much she loved me in a time where I felt very unlovable. And there has never been a moment in my entire life that I questioned whether that woman loved me or not, and that saved me.
Yeah. And I think my little grandma, even though she had a hard time understanding alcoholism, because that's what I struggled with predominantly, she had a hard time understanding it, but she just loved me. And I think the message is, folks, is that love the people without judgment all day long that might be struggling on this journey. Don't diss them, don't dislike them, don't hate on them, don't try to tell them what to do, because if you can give somebody some unconditional love and say, I'm just going to love you for who you are, even if you are using your whatevers, but you have a safe place to land, sometimes that can be taken advantage of. So sometimes we have to find the next best thing for someone. But having this heart moment with Cellie right now about these ladies that said, we just love you because you are good. You are good. You got whatever the path that took, whatever the struggles. I mean, we both had childhoods that probably weren't ideal. And so we found a way to escape, but then we found a way to escape that need to not feel.
Absolutely.
And that's what that is that people try not to feel. That's why they use substances. That's why, because maybe there's trauma, there's discontent, there's people who have, been mean to them, communities that have been mean to them, peoples that are underrepresented, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, we just came to a moment there where I just love this lady. Give me your hands.
I know.
It's like, yes. Okay. So we're going to come back. Okay. Here we are. Just had that love moment. See, this is what happens when you get to be with people who understand you.
Yeah.
We get to have these fun moments, and we get to have these love moments. So love the people that are struggling people.
Yeah.
Cellie, you got like a minute. Tell somebody something wonderful about what recovery looks like.
Man, recovery has given me the opportunity to be there for my grandma as she was passing. I get to be a sister, a friend, a person in the community, and my favorite title of all is I get to be called auntie. And had I not found recovery, I would not have the amazing nieces and nephews that I do in the world, and get to do all the fun things and spoil them rotten and just love on them. And I can promise that in the recovery world, I will always be a safe space to listen and to love you right where you are. I don't have to understand you or even know you to love you. I don't have to have ever met you, and I already love you because I know what that unloved feeling feels like, and nobody will ever encounter me without feeling loved. Oh,
I am so rarely speechless, but that's what we do. I wish I could remember the quote that a young woman had today. I'll bring it up the next time. Yes. But remember that you are loved by Cellie. You are appreciated and loved by Caddy. And the recovery community is real. And the people that want to love the people that struggle are real. So if you are at all looking for support, reach out to Minnesota Recovery Connection, Recovery Alliance Duluth, or other organizations. We are here for you. Thank you for listening to Redefining Recovery, a recovery revolution. Bye-bye, Cellie.
Bye.
Bye.